All right, we can go ahead and get started. Can everybody hear me okay? Just go ahead and type in the chat if you can hear me. Perfect. Thanks for coming, everybody. My name is Michael Ravelay. I am the Senior Coordinator of Campus Reservations, Events, and Technical Services here at the Tate Student Center. We wanted to host an event with a little bit more information and outreach than we would normally do in a semester, kind of given the nature of the semester and how few events we've been hosting. So thank you for being here. With me tonight are Greg Kirby, the Director of Campus Reservations, and Jackie Phillips, who, Jackie, what is your title? I'm sorry.
I am the Senior Coordinator for Student Engagement.
Perfect, Senior Coordinator for Student Engagement. So yeah, we're gonna have a session tonight, as well as a session next week. We will cover different types of events in next week's session. So if you attend this one, please feel free to attend next week's session also. And we should have a video of this presentation available tomorrow for everybody. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Tonight we're going to start by covering our event spaces. Then we're going to cover 3 specific types of events and some kind of best practices for those, including large and small banquets, movie nights, and special events. And then we will break for question and answer. So let's start with our event spaces. The smallest of our event spaces is Tate Reception Hall, pictured here. The socially distant max capacity of Tate Reception Hall is 30 people. In a regular semester, that boosts to 180. Tate Reception Hall is a self-service technical space. So what that means is that there's a panel on the wall that will let you hook your laptop up, manage your own projection, and you won't be required to pay for a projectionist in this space. We do have projection. Tate 144, which is one of our meeting rooms, can be added to this reservation as the 2 rooms connect. And this is a room that we don't typically put a stage in because it often ends up blocking the projection. Next up, we have the Tate Theater. Socially distant, our max capacity of this space is 100 people. Not socially distant, we can fit 504 people in it. This is a space that requires a technician for any use, be it microphones, projection, anything like that. We have 2 types of projection available. At most times, we have a Dolby system for specific use, as well as a computer and standard projector. We don't often put a stage in this space, though we have been known to, depending on the event. And we recommend that you get a microphone for this space, just given the size of it and given how many people you may be addressing at once. Next up, we have Tate Grand Hall, which is our largest indoor event space here at Tate. We have a 120-person max capacity when socially distant for this space, though in a standard year, we could fit over 1,200 people in it. Tate Grand Hall has sections, 7 in fact, that can be subdivided and combined in various fashions. We have a pre-function area that's included in your reservation. This is another space that we require a technician for. That means that if you want to have projection, if you want to use your laptop, you will be required to add a technician to your reservation. We have 2 types of stages that we can use. We have a standard stage, which is the one we use in most of our spaces, as well as a pro stage that we can add for an additional cost. The pro stage is a little bit nicer, a little bit taller, but it does require that you have an additional day bookending your reservation the day before and the day after, so that our crew can set it up and tear it down. We have upgradable light and sound options that we can offer in this space at a cost. Often those come through a vendor, so they can require the vendor's cost on those. And currently we're running a special promotional discount until May 14th of next year that would give booking costs 50% off in Tate Grand Hall for student affairs advised groups. So please feel free to email us or call us or swing by our office if you have questions about that. Next up, we have Memorial Hall Ballroom, which is across the street from the Tate Center. Right now, we have a 45-person max capacity for Memorial Hall. Not during social distancing, we can fit 300 people in there. This is a space that offers projection and has self-service tech, though we have added technicians for this space before. If you have an event that you would like a little backup on or don't quite feel comfortable hosting yourself. This is compatible with stages and another space like Tate Theater that we recommend a microphone for. Legion Field is our largest outdoor event space. Our capacity right now for Legion Field is 200 people, though we can fit 4,000 people during a regular semester. This is a space that we recommend you reach out early if you think you may be involved or interested in it, because there's a lot more involved with the setup and the booking of this space than any of our other event spaces. Depending on the type of your type of event, you may need a technician, though a field manager is always required for this space. One reason that Legion Field requires a little bit more setup is that it's a fairly blank canvas in terms of the space. We have a stage set at all times, but it takes a little bit of work to get audio set up or audio, sound, lighting, that sort of thing. Projection is not an option at Legion Field. Reservations that take place after dark will require safety egress lighting at the booker's cost. And pool restrooms can be used, though for the largest events we recommend that porta potties be rented as an extra cost. Again, a reason that we recommend you reach out to us early so that we can help you get in touch with vendors and make sure it fits their timeline. At the moment, surveillance testing is taking place at Legion Field. So reservations may only begin after 5 p.m. on weekdays or on the weekends. Our final large event space that we're going to cover is UGA Chapel. Right now, 86 people is the max amount that we could fit, though 433 can be fit, not social distance. The space has a small lobby and is a historic location, which means that no food is allowed. The event manager is present and will be required to support your technical needs, so it's not a removable cost. There are projection and stage lighting options. The chapel has a small stage with no side wings or a dressing room. It has a piano, and currently, because classes are being hosted in the space, it is only available after 4 on weekdays and on weekends. So now that we've covered our spaces, we'll go ahead and dip into more specific types of events and some of our recommendations for hosting them. So we'll go ahead and start with large and small banquets. Personally, I would recommend you use Reception Hall, Memorial Hall Ballroom, or Tate Grand Hall for these spaces. The ones marked with asterisks mean that technical support is available, though not required. We believe that a stage lends presence to your event. So if you feel that you're holding an event that needs a certain gravitas, you may want to consider a space that's compatible with the stage. We recommend that you spend some time on your slideshow, since that's the thing that people are going to spend the most time looking at and will be really indicative of the quality of your event. If you're going to be bringing in vendors for furniture or food, anything like that, please communicate the university's policies in advance to them, and feel free to reach out to us at CRETS if you have any questions about that or need any help doing that. We're always here to help. We recommend that you give yourself some time for cleanup after your event. Often events will book themselves through the end of the building's hours and then rush to clean out and get out of the building. So it's definitely something we recommend taking into account when you book your space. Finally, I wanted to mention kind of the realities of banquet dining during COVID. It's important to remember the capacity of the space, as well as using the pre-function space to its best ability. It really helps to make use of the whole space if you've got the option. Often for banquets, we would use round tables, but during social distancing, our capacity that we can seat in round tables is pretty limited. So please speak to your event coordinator, and we can come up with a diagram for you and help you seat people in a way that doesn't feel like a cafeteria at your special event. Next, we will talk about movie events or movie nights. Obviously, Tate Theater is a great fit for this, though we have had movie nights in Reception Hall, Memorial Hall, and Tate Grand Hall. By law, it's important you get copyright permission to show a movie if it's not done under specific academic guidelines. Those guidelines usually apply to classroom showings. So most movie nights that we host at Tate don't qualify for that. We recommend using swank.com to secure copyright permission for films. This does come at a cost and does require a little bit of time. So before you go ahead and start publicizing your movie night, make sure that you have permission to show your film and that you've got enough room in the budget to buy the copyright for that. We also recommend being aware of UGA's food policies during COVID-19. This means that food is pre-portioned and individually packaged. So whereas in the past we maybe have had bowls of M&Ms or popcorn out in the space, that's not something we can do currently due to COVID-19. Again, with all of this, please feel free to reach out to our office if you have any questions, and we'd be glad to give you a hand. Finally, I want to talk about special events. Often these take place in Memorial Hall, Ballroom, or Tate Grand Hall, though I've definitely had some in Reception Hall or Tate Theater. With these, we recommend that you start your planning as early as possible. It's not crazy to start planning an event like this over a year out. And when you do, reach out to us. Get us involved in the process early, communicate with us, and it'll make for a better event in the end. We want you to start thinking of your technical needs early. This may mean asking your speakers what kind of microphone they prefer, figuring out how many microphones you need. If you're going to be playing live music, will you need special technical equipment for that? All of that stuff is stuff you can cover in your planning meeting and that we've dealt with often are happy to provide our expertise on. It's important at the beginning of your planning process that you know your budget and stick to it. We don't want to put you in a position where you're making edits to your reservation at the very end of the planning period because you ran out of money or anything like that. We also recommend that you know your run-up show to make sure that you're fitting your event and the time allotted to you in the theater or in your event space rather. We've had shows that overplanned their event and ran out of time or felt like they were rushed. And that's something that through adequate planning, you can definitely avoid. Let us know what we can do to make your event feel special. Our office has hosted thousands of events here at the Student Center, and the little touches that we can do, whether it's ordering custom tablecloths to fit a color theme, anything like that, that's stuff that we're happy to do and happy to look into to make your event feel really special. We recommend that you designate somebody as your campus reservation point of contact. A side note on that would be that if you are the director of your organization, that person should probably not be you. On the day of the event, you're going to be running around, you're going to be busy, you're going to have no time, and everybody's going to want some of it. So if you can point at somebody in your organization and say, that's the person who can go check reservations, that's the person who knows what's supposed to be set up, it's always helpful. The last point, as we've kind of repeated through here tonight, communicate with us as much as you can. The more you speak with us, the more we know your plans and your expectations, the better we can help you reach those. And with that, that's the end of my prepared portion. So we'll go ahead and move on to Q&A. And Jackie will assist us with that.
There aren't any questions in the chat yet. I'm sure that there will be that.
If you have any questions, go ahead and put those questions in the chat and we'll be happy to answer. While we wait for some questions, I do want to reiterate one thing that Michael said earlier in the presentation about our special discount that we're offering right now. If you book Grand Hall between now and May 14th, 2021, you will receive a 50% discount on the entirety of that reservation. That 50% discount is available to all student organizations and student affairs departments. So take advantage of the space and the discount.
Please. Thank you, Greg.
gotten any questions in the chat, but when we get commonly, is how far in advance do you suggest student orgs begin speaking with y'all? Or what are those time limits that they have? How early can they?
Sure. So Jackie said that a lot of student groups are curious when they should start reaching out to campus reservations, when that planning process should begin, when scheduling meetings should happen. There are a couple of different answers to that. So the first thing I would recommend is, as a group, knowing when your booking window is. Some groups are given a year in advance to book their space. Others are given 6 months. It's important that you know that. I would also say it depends on the type of event that you're holding. If you're holding an event in Grand Hall that is a huge fundraiser for your organization, you're bringing the president of the university, if it's the event that is the most important to you for the school year, it's probably important that we get involved in the planning for that pretty early. So it kind of comes down to discretion, I think. I would say there's rarely too early. As soon as you start to know key details, it helps us to know those. Greg, do you have anything
I would just say, Michael, you mentioned the when you can book some of those spaces. I would say the first one is, if you are a student affairs advised student organization, you can book the spaces 1 year in advance in the Tate Student Center. If you are not advised by student affairs, you can book the spaces in the Tate Student Center 6 months out. That's for booking. But to go further on your question of when you should start planning, I would reach out as soon as you get a reservation, and you could start maybe set a date with the events team for your first production meeting.
Awesome, thank you. And on the other side, if a student organization or a group has to cancel an event, how soon do they have to do that before the event?
I believe 3 days is in our official policy. We have definitely accommodated groups that have needed to cancel with less time. So if you think that there's something coming up that you maybe can't have your event go through, anything like that, again, reaching out to us really helps, and helping us knowing the situation helps us make decisions in that case. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to echo what you just said. Our policy is 3 business days in advance before canceling a reservation. I would say the only caveat to that is if you have an event that requires outside vendors. In particular, Michael mentioned Legion Field. We sometimes have to get vendors to come in for the porta potties, for all the technical support. We have there's a larger cancellation window for Legion Field, so that would be at least 2 weeks to 1 week at the maximum to cancel a Legion Field event.
Definitely. If you do have to cancel 3 days out, there's typically no charge for something like that. Though again, if you think that something's going on, if you're worried that your event may not be able to handle, shoot us an email, come by the office. It's easier for us to help if we're aware of the situation.
And feel free to send in the chat if you have any other questions.
Let's see. Give it maybe another minute or two.
While we're waiting for more questions, if there are any, Michael, would you tell everyone what's going to be covered in next Monday's presentation on information session part 2?
Yeah, definitely. So next week we will be covering 3 different event types. We're going to be covering meetings, which for our large event spaces, we don't often cover meetings, but I figure it'd be important to include it. We're going to be covering award ceremonies, which especially for the spring semester, we see a lot of, so that'll be a good one to attend. And finally, we'll be covering outdoor events. As you heard, Legion Field has a lot of different criteria needed to host events there. So please be here for that. Do you think you might be hosting an outdoor event?
And this might be covered next week under outdoor events, but in terms of tabling, would you mind providing just a brief overview of what tabling opportunities there are for student orgs at the moment?
All right, the question was about tabling opportunities. So this is actually brand new information. So I'm glad you asked, Jackie. Obviously, we have a lot of tabling opportunities. Due to COVID-19, we were limited to keeping all the tabling opportunities outside, and we actually added more tabling opportunities for the fall semester. Given that the weather tends to get a little colder outside and potentially rain and snow potentially, we are going to bring back the indoor tabling opportunities for the spring semester. So you are hearing this information for the first time tonight. We have 5 indoor table locations that we're going to start offering for the spring semester, plus all of our normal ones, which we'll hold outside. So if you are interested in tabling indoors, you can book that now after this presentation.
That's awesome. Really exciting. That's all the questions I have currently. Are there any other commonly asked questions that could be helpful for folks to know?
We often get asked what we think the price of an event would be, if we can come up with kind of just a borderline number. Often that's tough to do just kind of off the top of our heads. It often takes a little bit more question asking. So I'd recommend that if you are looking for something like that, it's probably best for you to call instead of email, so that we can talk to you about your event, kind of get an idea of what you have in mind, time frame, that kind of thing, and then we can follow up via email with a projected invoice on that.
Yeah, getting a projected cost is sometimes challenging without an official reservation because we actually have to build the event to give you a price. However, we do have our pricing information on our website under the pricing section, and you can calculate that yourself. And you do that in 2 different ways. The first way is the hourly price of the room that you're reserving, so you can look that up. And then how many tables, chairs, or furniture you're going to add. And then the third part would be, I would say, staffing, having a technician there. So those are the 3 things you can calculate based on the pricing scale that we currently have on our website.
I would say another common question we get, people will often ask us, let's say it's today, they'll say, hey, I need an event space for Wednesday. Is that something we can accommodate? It's something that we're always happy to accommodate. Usually we have some availability right now, a little bit more than we would have a year ago. But yeah, we're always happy to accommodate last minute events. In a kind of similar sense, people will often ask us, hey, it's November 23rd and I'm looking to host an event on a series of Friday nights in March. Spring semester tends to be our busiest semester. And right now, even though we are going forward into the spring semester expecting to social distance and operate events as we have during the pandemic, we still have a pretty full event calendar at the moment. Not many groups have canceled as it stands. So while we are happy to accommodate last minute requests, often getting in at the beginning of your booking window and knowing that and being really on top of submitting your bookings early is the best way to get on event spaces at that time.
I would add on to that, given that our calendar is, I'd say semi-full at this point for the spring semester, given that events are tending to cancel more because of COVID numbers, I think it would be always good to check in with the office to say, hey, I'm looking for next month, because that calendar is completely changing month by month, week by week, with different cancellations due to COVID numbers. So you never know, if there's something that might be booked today, in a couple months it might be open a little later down the road. So I would check back in.
Yeah, I'd say if there's one takeaway from this presentation, it's send us emails, call our office, swing by our office. That's the number 1 thing you can do to really make sure your event is great.
Awesome.
Well, if you don't have any more questions, I think we can feel good about calling that a night. Thank you for coming. Thank you for hearing us out tonight. Like I said, we'll have another information session next week at the same time. If you'd like to attend in person, we are also hosting it in the Tate Theater. If you have any questions, feel free to email us at reserve@uga.edu and we'll give you a hand. Have a great Thanksgiving and thanks so much.